Hi, my name's Austin. I'm gonna have Devon join in a second. Hey, Devon.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. You're like in a fisheye lens.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured it would be easier to do it this way.
I like it. It's a good look.
Cool. How? Oh yeah. Happy birthday.
Thank you. 31. Big deal.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just in my studio and you're looking at your like workspace, your
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. It's like my computer studio. Um. So yeah. I figured I have like some paintings in here though too. But yeah. Maybe. Do you think maybe we could like show people our work and stuff, and then talk about it?
Yeah, I think so. Should I go for I don't know. I'll
Yeah,
just
if you don't
Yeah,
mind. If you go first.
cool. Well, I guess like as people are joining, I can just start by saying my name and stuff. That'd be handy. So I'm Devon Shimoyama. I am primarily a painter, but I also do some other stuff with some sort of sculptural stuff and immersive installations as well. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I teach at Carnegie Mellon University. So right now it's like 10 a.m. for both of us. And yeah, so looking around in my studio, I just moved in here like a month ago. And I was thinking a lot about some of the work that I was making. So some of the work that's in the show that we're both in is it sort of spans a few years. Like I think the one painting constellations that I made was from back in maybe 2015, and then the other one is like from just like last year or something. And
Okay.
so it's like it's really cool to be able to see my work become friends. Like with each other that haven't met in the past, so that's kind of cool to see those things together. And right now I'm in my studio and I'm working on all this stuff for an upcoming show in the spring, which hopefully I'll be able to go to. So it's in Dusseldorf at Kunstpalais. Um, and I'm thinking a lot about like mysticism and thinking a lot about kind of like the general kind of witchiness of our generation and that different ways in which we kind of look to other types of things like constellations or tarot cards or even like pop culture where they sort of display characters as various types of magical creatures in order to kind of construct our own ideas of ourselves and our own inherent magic and so yeah I'll like kind of flip the camera I guess to show what I have. I never really do this, so I'll show the stuff that's like
Yeah, me either.
more
A little
done.
awkward.
But yeah, it's so here we go. That's
Oh
a
wow.
big painting. It's like 7 feet tall by about 5.5 feet wide, and it's kind of my take on the star tarot card. And so it's kind of a pair to another painting that I've made a year ago of the moon tarot card. And so I don't know, maybe over the course of my lifetime I'll be able to like actually make a full set. But yeah, these are some close-ups just to get like an idea of the materiality. So there's like some glitter in there. the hair is always really textured and thick, and that's something that I feel like in my photos of my work you don't really see.
Yeah,
But it's
can I
cool to
ask
be
you
able to,
about
like,
your viewer?
yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing I like when I think of your work. I always think about is like the texture and like, I guess like for me I don't know if you would think of it this way, but like I almost think of like texture collage as like texture as collage, like where like you create like for me the way you create the images is through all these different not just like image like not just the image of what you're depicting, but like how it seems to feel, or like um, what it's actually made out of, or how how it reflects, or like how it catches light. Um, so for me, like it's weird how like a lot of artists, like when I think of their work, I'll just think of the way it looks. But for me, like when I think of your work, it's like the way it feels in that way too, and like the tactility of it, which I don't have that in. So I mean, so many artists I can think of offhand, but like I always think of how your work feels. Um, yeah, is it like how do you like when you're making work? Is it something that like you yeah? How do you come to like how do you get to that point with the work? Like, is it
yeah. I think, well, it's hard because I mean, especially with social media and like the way that that functions, people are looking at a lower resolution image, much smaller than the thing actually exists in real life, and it's flattened. And my work kind of shifts color and texture as you kind of like walk across it a bit, and you can kind of see it happening in the painting behind me, which I'll
ooh yeah?
show. But like, sometimes I send videos of my work to people because
Oh my God,
here
yeah.
the sequins are purple to blue to green, and they look almost black from the front. So it's like, for me, I think like the way that social media functions is much more of a way for people to get a tiny window into like what's actually being experienced in person, and then you kind of can go, if you're able to go see it in person or any of my work, you get an idea of a lot of the materials. So like all of my paintings use a lot of the same materials. So if you've seen like a few of them in person, you can kind of get an idea of how the other work actually
Right.
might feel or appear in person.
Although
But it's, yeah, it's
you
tricky.
sent me a picture of that painting earlier,
Yeah,
and honestly though, like even though your work, not that one, the ones
the
that
other one. Yeah,
yeah, like that one's way different when you go around it. Like I had no idea that like the color does dramatically change so much uh,
yeah.
when you walk around it. Like where that I think you just can't get that sense unless you have that that experience. Yeah, it's crazy. It goes from like purple to green.
Yeah.
Um, can I ask you about snakes? Because like some of these new works have snakes
Oh
in them.
yeah, it does. Yeah, the snakes. So in general, I think my practice has like had a lot of snakes in paintings, and I think one of the paintings in the show that we're in together has snakes in it, and so it's, for me, it's kind of this like part of my work that's sort of rooted in looking at religion and other forms of mysticisms or other types of fictitious things that we sort of as human beings tell ourselves to make sense of ourselves and existence and morality and all of those things. And I also love how if you kind of dig into the history of looking at Christianity and looking at how it sort of even developed over time and became this Western religion, it really took some things from other cultures surrounding the Fertile Crescent and then sort of flipped them on their head. So depending on where you're from, the snake can mean something quite sacred and beautiful, and be something much more protecting and sacred and about fertility, or it can be this other thing like in the Bible where it's sort of full of deceit. And they've sort of totally, through a diaspora of sorts, have changed the meaning and the impact and the sort of significance of the snake through that sort of westernization. And I think that the same thing happens with Black identity through that diaspora as well. And so for me, I think of the snakes as kind of these companions of those who are being portrayed in those portraits. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening there. But in this specific painting with the snakes, this is like a funny painting to me because I was with a friend A really good friend of mine and I were going Halloween shopping, and we saw a package for a costume called. She was Medusa, but she was called Sedusa because she was like sexy. And I was really, I don't know, I'm kind of like looking at these kind of goofy, kind of clumsy representations of some of these things in popular culture as well, and kind of having a little bit more of a playful time with some of it in the studio too. So
Cool.
yeah, that's a bit of a what I don't know what I'm thinking about with at least that specific painting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It looks good. Um, can I ask you? Okay, so one other question too. Like, since
Yeah,
today's your birthday too,
it
what
is.
what
Yeah,
is your sign?
I'm a Sagittarius.
A Sagittarius. Okay.
Yeah.
Does like when
And
you talk
and
to
I'm an early Sagittarius, so I'm like the planet Jupiter is for me, and I'm on the cusp of Scorpio, I guess you could say.
okay, cool. I guess I was just thinking about like some of the stuff you were talking about before with like.
Oh yeah, well this is cool 'cause, like I actually am making a painting of a friend of mine as an Aquarius, so you can kind of see a glimpse of it.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Is it like
that's
the
just
water bearer?
yeah, yeah. And so that's like an important, moment is this kind of spilling out here.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that also, that water bearer comes from, oh, someone else has their birthday tomorrow in the chat. Sorry, that's exciting. Happy birthday. Um, and, but yeah, I definitely am going to make a Sagittarius painting at some point. Oh, this is fun in progress. So you can see some of the um, elements that go into making stuff. So some more little secrets walking by. Okay. Wait, I'm gonna ask you questions now.
Okay. Sure. Should I? Do you want to? Should I show like the one painting I'm working on and some stuff?
Yeah.
Let me take. I'll take it off this thing I have. Cool. So yeah, maybe. So this is like this bird painting.
Oh, that's cool. And so that's all. What size is that?
It's pretty big. It's like, I mean, here I can go in front of it and you can see. Um, yeah, so I'm like this big.
Oh, that's that's really okay. That's tall. It's like that's bigger than I thought. It's like so what 7 feet wide?
Yeah, I think it's about 7 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a smaller painting, but this is a new one that I made too.
Oh, cool. And is that like her holding some flowers and has a heart as a chest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I think this is, I think, supposed to be Haley, actually.
That's what I was gonna ask because I
Yeah.
feel like it reminds me. Yeah, I feel like I know that moment. But
So for everyone else, Haley is a friend of both of ours. So that's
yeah. And Haley made one time a long time ago I think a smaller portrait of me that I don't know if she still has it. It's cool. But yeah, so I was gonna ask you about in your paintings. It seems like you're really able to kind of do these more simplified pare down ideas in multiples. Like I remember you had a lot of these flower paintings, and now you have these birds. I don't know if you're making more of the birds, but I was wondering, like, what do you think of that kind of what is the significance of making multiple iterations of like a kind of simpler composition idea or compositional strategy like that? Because for me, when I looked at that show, I remember thinking it felt kind of like celebratory, like a sort of, it created an immersive, like I felt like I was walking into a bunch of flowers sort of falling. And so there's something kind of celebratory but melancholic about it at the same time. Are
yeah.
you thinking more about like sensations and feelings and how to articulate that through those paintings?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be probably like the best way, like the way I think about my work most of the time is just it would be to, like I usually, and that can be like a wide range of the way that, like for me, like a painting is usually more about how it feels than what it looks like or like what it's specifically depicting. It's like usually me trying to share like some kind of that I have, like, and I don't think it necessarily has to be the same, like someone doesn't have to get to it through the same like understanding. It's just like kind of like everyone has different experiences, so like something that will like kind of be evocative of the feeling for me, that I would hope that maybe that would be evocative of that feeling for someone else too. So with those flower, like it's funny though, like with the the different iterations of paintings, like I think often it's just like step by step. It's like not something that I necessarily would plan in the beginning, but it's like kind of like searching for something. Like where I think the flower paintings I started doing more as thinking about pattern, and like also I was trying to remove like the figure from the work, like at the time, like just as like I don't know, just as a challenge for myself to see like it's sometimes I think it's good to just get out of your comfort zone and to try things that seem like you wouldn't do normally, like because I work with the figure so much. It's like, oh, could I make a painting that's not the figure? And then like that's something that I guess like even thinking about like portraiture versus still life or landscape, like um, how those different like for me like I really don't connect with, and mostly only connect with like people in paintings. Like that's like and I realize it's like something that is alive is like what I'm interested in usually, like trying to make a painting that feels like it's alive. And it's strange, I haven't really figured out how to do that with landscape yet. I think it's like, for me a fun challenge to do that. I think those flower paintings were like maybe the way to try to do that with still life. And but it's funny for me, they still become like people, I think, in a way, like where like I like when I those flower paintings, they still like, even though I wasn't intentionally doing it in the beginning, they like for me they ended up feeling like like figurative in a certain way. um
When I saw them, I remember you showed me, you let me like draw in your kind of virtual space, and I remember you had some of like a flower composition in there, but it was like dimensional, so it wasn't just a pattern, but it almost felt like I was immersed in like a, I think about like in the ocean or something with feeder fish, right? The way that they sort of undulate and move together as a kind of unit almost, and that's how it kind of felt to be. In the sort of planning of some of those paintings.
yeah, I mean that is sometimes like just as a formal thing too, like for me, like something that I'm just interested in, the way I use the computer as a like like a way to create the compositions, like where like even with bird painting it kind of like I think you had, you know, that small bird painting, it was just like a like two small birds. Like I think for me I had seen like a photograph of like a big flock of birds, and like I was really interested in how layered it is, like it really like when like are flying in a flock, like it's just like you see like just like density of all of them, but like they're on top of each other. So for me, that kind of depicting like space in that way is something I've always been really interested in. Is like I like when a painting feels like you can feel the air in it. That like that's like for me always this like I don't know, like the thing I'm striving for is like it
When
feels
you
like
say feel the air, do you mean like there should be a lot of space, or do you feel like you mean like sensory, like you should be able to almost feel like you're transported somewhere else?
I'm not, I guess a little bit of both, like but like this kind of magical kind of sense of like like I guess like unreal or something. Like I don't want it to look like maybe like our reality, but like for me, I think painting it is a special is like a special thing where you can like create this different kind of reality or space, like where there's it's really rare for me. There's been a few paintings that I've seen that I feel like I could put my hand in or something, and
Yeah.
I really understand, like I understand the logic of the painting space. You know, it's like so believable, but it's like not what reality is. Like for me, I really love that. Like when it's like not just painting the thing that I'm painting, but like you feel like the space around it is just as real. I think that's like for me a like a thing that I strive for. And I use like the computer sometimes to help with that. Like with this painting, like I'm using like I'll make it in VR, and then I'm using like 3D modeling and stuff to create like um oh hey
Lance is here. Yeah.
um, anyways, but yeah, like so but for me like I use the computer as a tool often to like try to get to that. But one painting I always think about this painting, but I just love it so much, is Ginevra da Benci painting. It's by Leonardo. And
Yeah.
I had such a crazy moment with that. It was like one of the first paintings I had seen in person, like as like a young like artist, or
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself an artist then, but like but anyway, but it was just like I just didn't understand it. It was like just this crazy. It's like for me, like a lot of times technology can be like that. Whereas like the first time like you see something different, or like if like I don't know, when you see something that you can't quite it feels familiar in a way that it's not like you don't know what it is, but you're curious about it. It's like, what is that? It feels exciting and new or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to chase that, like those moments I've seen in other people's paintings in my paintings, basically. So,
That's cool. I feel like with well, for one, someone did ask you really quickly, do you have any sculptures that you make in your studio right now?
I don't think I have any. I have one outside. I can, but yeah, probably yeah, I don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have some. Um, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I might have. I'm just trying to look. I have some not like good ones.
Well, if they're not good, maybe.
I can like ones that didn't work out. I can show like I can show. Oh wait, yeah, I have one. These are just little ones that I 3D print. Um, but yeah, maybe I can show these. These are not like sculptures, but this is um like one of my favorite sculptures.
Oh yeah.
I didn't make it as like a Michelangelo sculpture.
But how did you even get the scan for that?
I just like scanned it. I was lucky enough to see it in person, and then
Oh, and so you like went and took pictures around it.
yeah, and then this is my mom.
That's cute.
So this is like one of the first 3D prints I've ever made, and it was just like a 3D scan of her head. But then I gave her sunglasses.
Yeah.
But yeah, like those are just two little ones. But for me, I just kind of kept them around. But they're like for like I don't know. It's like nice to have the 3D prints as like when they're from scans. Like they can like for me like with the one of my mom. It's like interesting to like. It doesn't look like my mom really, but like it's still all her like the dimensions of her head, you know. So like there's like some kind of sense of her in it, which is like not. It doesn't have to look like her to feel like. I don't know. I
I
think
feel like her. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes like sometimes even with my sculptures, I'll take like an existing sculpture that and like work with that like like David or something. I never was able to like make anything interesting with that one though. I just like yeah.
Is there like so with when you're doing something like that? Because like I am currently, I often don't paint real actual people. They're all kind of made up, but they're made to look real. And now I'm kind of painting some people that are real or some sort of like iconic snippets from cinema or something or film history. And I feel like a different kind of pressure to make something look very much like that thing or like that person. And when you're doing the Michelangelo thing, like how is that a challenge for you to balance making sure it looks like something you made versus looking like the actual thing? Yeah.
That
And still retaining that sort of iconic shape. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, that's a real challenge I think I have for sure. Like, I think it's for me really important. Like, I think it's usually a failing if it stays in too much in like the like if I'm working from like a historical sculpture or something. Like, for me like it's nice if that's like like a core, but not just that. Like, it's become something else. Like, it's not really interesting to become a new thing. I think, and like that's for me like the bit. I mean, it is a tricky thing. Like even, I think like I do paintings like from life of people sometimes too, and I think that is always a really like it just was it something that is a challenge. Like where I'm not really that interested in necessarily making it look like the person, but for me it's like trying to make it feel like the person. And that's all. Like for me, that's usually the test of it. Like where it's like I mean, they're not always like flattering portraits either. Too like they. It's not like I'm not trying not to make them flattering, but for me, like it's, yeah, like it's like they can be distorted or weird or something. But maybe feel more like the person through that, and
Yeah.
but that's always like I think a tricky thing. Like I'm not totally sure. I think sometimes it's like I don't know. I guess I think about photography a little bit too with that, like where. Like I don't know if like even like a photograph doesn't always feel like a person, you know? Like even
Yeah.
like even like with say like this video chat or something, I feel
Yeah.
sometimes like the way like a camera flattens you or like even like the lens or like you know how the different lens in the beginning like
Yeah.
your face looks so different with all these different camera lenses and just can be really like there are different ways of like capturing someone's likeness, I guess. But like, but it doesn't like there's no really. Like I think that painting is like that can be you have like a little more um, like agency over um, like all the things that make up how something feels. Like with your paintings, like how like we were talking about texture before. Like that's like I think those are really things that are um, not easy to talk about. Like probably in the human way. Like I don't think humans really have as good of a language to discuss how things feel in that way. Like I think you can really sense like subconsciously like the feelings of things. Like if something's soft or hard or whatever, like without
Yeah.
it. And like I don't know how to just talk about that really, but like I know like there's like weird imperceptible kind like this kind of like it's part of like how you understand something. And like I think that's what's special with painting. Like that's why I don't think like seeing, especially now like with so much work online and stuff, it's better than not seeing something at all. But I think it's just like a tiny bit of what something really is.
Yeah, I think that painting and so much of visual arts do so much that you know, we as visual artists can't necessarily articulate through language, or even, you know, or like through writing or anything like that, or through limitations of specifically like our language and English. There's so many different things. So I think that, like, you know, as visual artists, we're kind of like tasked with that responsibility of taking something that's in our minds, intercepting it with like chance through the process and through learning and through making, and then that thing is the thing that we had to say. And so I often find that, like, a lot of times when visual artists are like given, like, for example, we're talking right now about art, you know, it's difficult to kind of detach ourselves from the process of having made it and said the thing that we wanted to say through the making. So to add something later to it, like words or language or other thoughts, kind of bogs it down sometimes for me. And I try not to kind of overly, you know, think while I'm making something. And so I try to do most of the thinking afterwards, really, and reflecting on it. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think too, like, I mean, kind of to go back to what you were saying in the beginning about how like you had different works for different periods of time that kind of talk to each other in the show. And like I think for me that's something that's really I like in this for me the same thing. Like I have some older work in that show, and it's like interesting to see how like as you change, your your like interpretations of your own work changes too. Like where like I don't think art has a fixed meaning really, you know, and like the world also changes too. So like our works can change as like the world changes around it, and like you change, and like like there's always like the meanings can fluctuate. But I think it's like for me, it's like that's one thing that's really interesting is like for your own like you can like see it in your own because you know like kind like at least somewhat through memory where your head was at when you made it.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like,
To an extent. I mean, I don't really remember where my head was at when I made some of the work that's in the show. I mean, maybe more so the more recent painting, but yeah, it's like it's definitely a little weird. But I love getting a chance to see old work come together or be on view again, like a few years later, and see how I feel about it now and what I would say about it now. Because it's more about, at that point, it's like what the work is actively doing, and not so much about you know, what I was thinking about at the time.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, we're at 10:30. What should we do? Should we like
I
wrap it up?
yeah. Let's do, yeah. I don't know. Thanks everyone for watching us talk.
Yeah, thanks. We're just chatting. We went to school together, so we're just like shooting the shit. Yeah. All right.
Everyone tell Devon.
Yeah, I'm 31 today. This is a big deal. So all 25 of you have to say happy birthday to me.
All right. Well.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.